Welcome to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, a program for and about women. Joyce Buford is a certified coach and motivational speaker who has a passion for helping women who need a second wind. She is the author of the Amazon bestseller, Effortless Happiness, How to Find Your Voice and Finally Ask for What You Really Want. She studied directly with her mentor, Jack Canfield, and is a fully certified coach in his program. Also, she has served as an assistant in his training programs. Through her study with many prestigious coaches and mentors, she has created a powerful program that has positively impacted thousands of people. On today's program, Joyce and her guests will help you to get your second wind. Now here's your host, Joyce Buford.
Good morning. Welcome to Second Wind with Joyce, and it's Joyce talking to you this morning. I'm so happy to be here to share this information with you. This is going to be more about sharing some of topics that we all experience, and yet we have difficulties living through this. So my goal for today is so that we're going to talk about forgiveness. And my goal today is not to totally give you a full description of forgiveness, because forgiveness is a big subject. It's one we've all heard about since we were toddlers, and maybe more in some families than in other families. We've certainly heard it if we were connected to a church or to a synagogue of some way. They talk about forgiveness. But there's a lot of confusion about forgiveness, and there's a lot of doubt. And anytime we experience something in our lives, either through parenting skills of our parents or through friendships, there are issues that need to be forgiven. And for ourselves, forgiving ourselves for making mistakes, for choosing badly, for choosing a career that wasn't successful, spending too much money, not living the life we had ideally thought we would live, from actually experiencing a life-threatening situation caused by another person, somebody outside ourselves. Certainly people that have experienced death of family members, rapes, all of these are tragic experiences that happen to people for no reason. And there is an important part that is necessary for us to move on in our lives, and it's all wrapped around forgiveness. So I wanted to take that subject because I myself have experienced the difficulty of forgiving mom and dad for certain things they taught me that I've spent my entire life trying to undo, for the divorce that I went through that was also caused by some of those things mom and dad taught me. So there's like an evolution of buildup of excuses and doubts and fears that cause our lives not to play out as we thought they would be. Important for all of us is to look at the word forgiveness. Why is forgiveness so important? Well, what we've learned about forgiveness was that it really started in our early days through religious teachings, our family values, or just we experienced it and we never even heard of forgiveness, forgiving those that persecute us, forgiving ourselves for making mistakes. We've never really thought about the importance of the forgiveness. Most of us believe that forgiving someone else that does a wrong to us lets them off the hook. It lets them get away for being cruel or doing something awful to us, to say, I forgive you for your act of violence. So we resist. We say, I don't want to, I'm not letting that person off. Somehow if I stay connected to the power, the anger, the hurt, the true power, I lose my power if I give them forgiveness. And we don't want to lose our power. Somehow we want to get even. It's in the human psyche to want to get even. And yet, today, my goal is to share with you that trying to get even steals from us our power of healing. So that's my goal today. If I do nothing but open a little crack in that shell that you have built around yourself, then I have succeeded. Forgiveness is a complex subject. It feels as if forgiving the other person is like letting them off the hook for hurting us, for making it seem as though the pain they gave us was nothing. The experience was nothing to the perpetrator, I can tell you that, but it all rests on us, the person that perhaps is the victim of the hurt. What is it about the idea of voluntarily letting go of those grievances that can make it seem like one of the hardest things we ever do? I know many people that go their entire lives and die on their deathbed, still carrying a grievance that they've experienced in their early life. My references for talking about forgiveness today is from the book by Barbara J. Hunt. The title of her book is Forgiveness Made Easy. The Revolutionary Guide to Moving Beyond Your Past and Truly Letting Go. So we all of a sudden have somebody that is actually explaining to us what this word forgiveness means. I know I've gone to church and they say, then the Bible says you must forgive. And I'm going, well, does that just mean I sit down and say I forgive? What is really involved in forgiving someone for causing this hurt and pain? Barbara talks about 5 obstacles to forgiveness. One is the misunderstanding what forgiveness is and what forgiveness is not, which we will cover today. It opens up our vulnerability of we must be vulnerable to all the fears that surround forgiveness. It's like opening up our insides to totally understand what being vulnerable to revisit those points of pain, how revisiting them can indeed help heal us. We'll talk about the ego to some extent. We'll talk about resentment that we carry, not knowing that the hidden price you pay when you don't forgive can physically cause you illness. And then also, Barbara in her book actually tells you step by step the method for completing forgiveness. Once you open your mind, which I hope today I will give you that little crack, that you will open your mind to forgiveness. Forgiveness can seem hard because you need to be willing to face your feelings about past hurts and the current challenges they're presenting in your life. Look at these. Look at actions that you take, how you react to different situations by withdrawing, by acting out. Ways of reacting to the pain of past hurts. Why do we forgive? Well, we don't forgive for the other person. We forgive for ourselves, not the other person. Although it feels like if we forgive them, if we totally let go of the pain of their actions, that pain that they caused us, seems like we're letting them off, right? They can walk away. But honestly, they've already walked away. You are the one that is carrying the pain. It's sometimes you carry this pain inside of you, and it feels like your body is heavy and your tummy is turning. And when we can release and let it go, our body feels lighter. Our heart releases the pain, and we are free to live a fuller life. There's nothing you can do to change the past, but with forgiveness, it can feel as you have resolved the past once and for all. You set yourself free from its power over you. It's all about you. It's called self-preservation. Forgiveness is an important fundamental life skill that is rarely taught. Did you have a course in high school called forgiveness? Did they teach it in health? No. But yet, forgiveness is mental, emotional, and spiritual hygiene necessary to be able to relate to your general well-being and the health of your heart. Forgiveness is good for your physical health. It reduces stress and lowers cortisol. And the hormone linked, cortisol is the hormone linked to degenerative disease, lower immune function, and increased weight gain. In a world where weight is such an issue, could it be that we're carrying pain and guilt that could be released? So what is forgiveness? There's a definition by Bradford Brown. Forgiveness is the absolute refusal to hold ill will against someone or something for what they did or didn't do. Ooh, that's powerful. The word that translated as forgiveness in the Bible is from the Greek aphesis, which means to let go. Forgiveness is the straightforward action of absolutely refusing to hold ill will. That's it. You drop resentment. You free yourself from your grievances. What if you started every day with a fresh slate? You only started your day with gratitude, not remembering what yesterday brought, or the hurt feelings you experienced, or that thought that mommy and daddy didn't love me, so I must be worth nothing, that you carry your entire life. Nelson Mandela, you may remember Nelson Mandela. He was indeed a awesome man. He changed civilizations. He was a nonviolent anti-apartheid activist, politician, and philanthropist who became South Africa's first black president from 1994 to 1999. Now, Nelson spent 27 years in jail and was greeted as a hero on his release. Nelson Mandela is famous for promoting the message of forgiveness and equality. Apartheid was abolished in 1991, and 3 years later, South Africa held its first elections in which black people, as well as white, were allowed to vote. Also, Nelson Mandela in 1994 was elected the first leader of a democratic South Africa. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Now think, this man, because of his participation in the apartheid to allow black and white to be able to vote in Africa, walked out of prison his 27 years of incarceration, saying, "As I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in the prison." Mandela demonstrated that if you chose to let go of your ill will, grievances, anger, and pain, you can forgive anything. So we have a testimonial, we have a person who was strongly persecuted and was able to forgive. Now let's talk about what forgiveness isn't. It's not a sign of your weakness. By Mandela forgiving those that had persecuted it, he was not demonstrating weakness. It's not a feeling. In fact, you may even feel like forgiving. You choose to. You choose to. You may not feel like forgiving, but you choose to. It's a decision. A decision for yourself. Not letting someone off the hook or letting people walk all over you. Forgiveness is certainly not that. Forgiveness is not condoning, rationalizing, or excusing unacceptable behavior. Forgiveness is not something that will happen naturally if you wait long enough. Some have waited all their entire life to hear the forgiveness from another person that had long since gone. Forgiveness is not something that happens naturally. Forgiveness is not dependent on the other person apologizing, taking responsibility, or making amends. Those are often the desires of those that have been hurt, but they will never be given from the person that is the personator, the person that actually does the hurting. Sometimes you hear it in court cases where they will ask for forgiveness. I know that I have seen some of that in some court cases where now they have the accuser and the recipient actually face each other in court trials. But usually it requires the court. So there are many, many hurts that go on during our lives that are never reconciled by asking for forgiveness. Because one, quite honestly, the persecutor may be totally unaware of how they have hurt you. We are products of our environment. Their environment created them, such as your parents. Their environment created them. And all they did was pass it on to you. So the many times don't understand how they have hurt or given you sadness. Same for mates in divorce situations. The the way your partner was raised, the doubts, the fears that they experienced and passed on to you were results of their growing years. Forgiveness is possible. And that's what that's one of the strongest messages I want to give to you today. Forgiveness is a superpower. According to a Gallup poll on various religious topics, including forgiveness, the report found of those surveyed, 94% said it was impossible to forgive. But 85% said they needed some outside help to be able to forgive. So if you find yourself faced with the difficulty of actually taking that step of forgiveness, I encourage you to go to someone to help you through this process so that you can live a full, productive life and love your life. There is an enormous potential for you to use the superpower of forgiveness to come to a place of peace in yourself, no matter what has happened to you in your past. Forgiveness is for you. One of the greatest motivations for forgiveness is knowing that it's you who will be primarily benefited when you do forgiveness, when you practice forgiveness, even though you're forgiving someone else. Or you may be forgiving yourself for staying too long in an abusive marriage, for spending your inheritance unwisely, for moving across country to face the same issues, for causing major change to your families. There's so many reasons that we need to put into practice forgiveness. Resentment in and of itself, resenting yourself for having things that happen or other people that things cause to happen, no matter how high you pile it on or how long you let it fester, won't make any difference at all to the other person's life, only to yours. If you just suppress your feelings and don't take the steps you need to, indignation or anger never gets expressed, and your resentment is driven underground. You will be living your whole life in the past. You won't be able to evolve or grow as a person. You'd be hair-triggered in interacting with other people. You'd be oversensitive in social situations. You definitely feel stressed and vengeful underneath. All the time, you'd feel anger in your life. Carrying resentment doesn't only have an impact on your mental and emotional health. Dr. L. Wilson says, resentment kills. Holding on to anger and holding grudges wears out the adrenal glands and the thyroid gland. Eventually, it weakens the entire body and mind. Having significant unresolved emotional issues will affect how you feel about yourself, others, and your life. The emotional stress might show you up in other ways. You may feel more anxious, less able to cope with stress and crisis, and it easily triggers you and moves your emotions, activates your emotions. The brain is a topic that we many times talk about this year. We talk a lot about the brain and the importance of the brain, and I think it's due time we give this part of our body some public time. Any kind of conflict or unresolved issue remains an incomplete or open loop to your brain. Your brain is constantly tracking everything you do, and you're hardwired to find the things you've lost and come to terms with the past. When things are left incomplete, you can never truly be at peace. This leaves major neurobiological and psychological sources of stress active inside you. And in the long term, these will take their toll on your health as well as your peace of mind. Can't you remember those days? I can remember days when I've done a major job, such as cleaning out the garage. For weeks, I've let that job hang over my head, saying every time I walk through the garage, this is a mess. Why can't I find the time? What's more important than this? And I find myself talking myself down. But the day that the time is right, I go to the garage and I look at it and I say, I'm getting this job done. Enough. As I work through the job, and it's hard work. Have you ever cleaned out your garage? It's hard work. And usually in Texas, it's hot work. So we're out there sweating and we're doing this and tossing and making decisions, what goes, what doesn't go. But at the end of the job, when we can look back, and for me, it was about getting my car in the garage. I could look back at the end of that day, and I fell into bed with such a peace of mind about doing a good job. Barbara talks about the view from the balcony. Forgiveness involves an internal mind shift. It includes changing our perspective and challenging your assumptions and the meaning you've given past events. This ability to sort of refresh our browser and change our attitude is a conscious move you can make away from ancient part of your brain that will be urging you to get revenge to the pre-vortex context that is able to see the bigger picture and make a capacity by practicing a better choice. This can be difficult to do, but you can develop this capacity by practicing forgiveness and using meditation. You'll notice the difference in your peace of mind, your health, and how well you sleep at night. Maybe even in the lightness of your heart too. Dr. Christine Northrup is a medical doctor who is known for her work in helping women live a healthier life. And she shares this. Ultimately, make it your goal to move on to forgiveness of yourself and those involved in causing you pain in the past. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what happened to you was acceptable. It simply means that you are no longer willing to allow a past injury to keep you from living fully and healthfully in the present. Forgiveness is for everyone. It's not reserved only for those who have experienced significant trauma. Forgiveness is for every circumstance with no exceptions. Forgiveness is not just for resolving the past. Forgiveness is a principle for life. Now I ask you, did I complete my mission today? Did I open a crack in the hard shell that we put around forgiving someone? There is much more for you to do in Barbara's book. And I purposely have stopped here because I want you to order Barbara's book from Amazon so that she can take you through the Forgiveness Made Easy. She gives you a step-by-step practice on how to move through forgiveness. She also helps you prepare troubleshooting problems that you may encounter on that journey that you will take. The journey is not an overnight journey. I would lead you wrong if I said it was. It is an ongoing journey. And it's one that is so important to changing your life. I encourage you to buy Barbara's book at Amazon and start reading it today. The book, again, is Barbara J. Hunt, Forgiveness Made Easy, The Revolutionary Guide to Moving Beyond Your Past and Truly Letting Go. I know in my reading of this book, I have found greater power in my ability to know this forgiveness stuff is about me. It's not about anyone else. And I want to live the best life I can. So if I face my dragons, my past hurts, if I realize I am doing this for me, then I can do anything for myself. I encourage you to take the time to make the effort so that you can empower your life and move forward, releasing, letting go, and enjoying a life of richness. Thank you for being here today. This has really been an important subject for me that I wanted to pass on to you. It's important that you know you have total control in forgiving and loving yourself as you move forward to live a very enriched life. Thank you for being here. We look forward to talking with you next week, and I hope you have a wonderful week full of riches and a little bit of forgiveness here. Okay? Thank you for being here. Have a great week.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.